Hi, I'm Mark Doff, Curator of History at Gilcrease Museum. Our upcoming exhibition, Weaving History into Art, The Enduring Legacy of Shan Gosshorn, features several of Shan's baskets that were inspired by her research here at Gilcrease Museum. A wonderful example of the synergy that resulted when Shan combined the Gilcrease collections with her amazing ability to weave historical events and people into her art is evident in her trio of baskets. They were called Kings. These baskets document the extraordinary 1762 journey of three Cherokee leaders from their American homelands across the Atlantic to England. Their arrival was reported in a 1762 newspaper stating, "Three Cherokee Indian chiefs arrived in London from South Carolina. They are well-made men, near 6 feet high, well-dressed in their own country habit." While in London, they met with King George III and signed a treaty of peace between the Cherokee Nation and Great Britain. These three men were quite the sensation while in London. Despite the fact that they could not speak English, their many orations in Cherokee, combined with their striking appearances, made a strong and lasting impression on those who saw them and heard them speak. The Cherokees' presence was so powerful that many Londoners were convinced that there were foreign heads of state, which indeed they were. In addition to the many reports in newspapers and magazines detailing the Cherokees' visit, Shan noted in her artist statement for They Were Called Kings that a rather bawdy song was composed about the effects the Cherokees were said to have had on English women. In fact, Gilcrease Museum has an original copy of A New Humorous Song on the Cherokee Chiefs in our archives with plans to present it in Weaving History into Art. The images of the men on the They Were Called Kings baskets are from photographs that Shan took of three members of the Warriors of Amakatua wearing their 18th century style Cherokee clothing. The Warriors of Amakatua, like the three leaders who traveled to London more than 250 years ago, serve today as goodwill and cultural ambassadors for the Eastern Band of Cherokee. When comparing the images on the They Were Called Kings baskets to portraits of two of the Cherokee leaders who traveled to England in 1762, found in the Gilcrease Art Collection, we see further evidence of Shan's scholarship and ability to weave historical events and people into her baskets. The first portrait, Coneshute, Cherokee Chief, was painted from life in London by the English artist Francis Parsons. Coneshute was truly a Cherokee king and senior in authority to the other two Cherokee leaders who traveled with him to England. In the portrait, Coneshute is depicted wearing two medals. The silver medal displays the images of King George III and Queen Charlotte, while the gold medal is inscribed, "Entirely English, 1762. The medals and silver gorget were gifts to Coneshute from King George III. The second portrait, painted by Sir Joshua Reynolds, is of Syakust Uka, whose name was actually Astanako. At the time of the visit, there was considerable confusion over the men's names due to the death of their interpreter during their Atlantic crossing. This portrait is particularly important. It is the first painting of an identifiable American Indian done in such a grand and impressive style. The artist, Sir Joshua Reynolds, was one of England's leading portraitists and the court painter to King George III. Reynolds depicted Astanako as an ambassador from the wilds of America, in clothing that connected him to the English court and royalty. In an effort to present his own notions of physical beauty, Reynolds omitted features of Astanako's personal adornment that he did not understand or appreciate. Astanako, like the other Cherokees, was heavily tattooed, with earlobes that were slit and stretched. This act of artistic censorship is obvious when comparing Reynolds' portrait of Astanako, what is depicted in the more accurate hand-colored lithograph in the Gilcrease collection documenting the Cherokees' visit. Thank you for joining me for this opportunity to explore how the Gilcrease collections played an important role in inspiring Shan Gosshorn's basketry. Please make plans to see more examples of Shan's art and objects in the Gilcrease collection in our exhibition, Weaving History into Art, The Enduring Legacy of Shan Gosshorn, opening at Gilcrease Museum this fall. To learn more about this exhibition, please visit us at gilcrease.org.